Hey guys, how y'all doing? I'm here to give you guys a recap on a new chapter of Nanatsu no Taizai, or you can call it the Seven Deadly Sins, which is on chapter 233. Now, this chapter right here is the aftermath of what happened of Meriscula and, of course, Escanor versus Meliodas. And right now, the situation is really deadly and dire. I'm pretty sure anyone who read this chapter will really understand why. We have to it that the seven deadly sins, along with Elizabeth and Lane and Bond, of course, like I said, are like going back to the boar's hat, and Meliscula's magic is dispelled because she's already been defeated anyway, so it was pretty obvious. We have to it that Elizabeth wants to heal Meliodas a bit, but Merlin's like, if his wounds get healed, he will kill us on the spot. Who knows what the hell will happen to him? And Escanor, on the other hand, says, hey, no need to worry, I'll rough him out many times. And Diane complimented him and says, you're the strongest man alive that can handle anything. He goes like, excuse me? He goes like, I'm sorry, did I say something weird? And Escanor is like blushing without showing his face. Not at all. I'm just surprised because he said something foolish. And even Escanor, even Diane and King's like, huh? Foolish? And Merlin's like, aren't you the one acting all tough right now? And Escanor's like, what are you talking about, Merlin? One punch to the chest and he falls down flat in the front. I'm like, oh man, this guy must have taken a lot of damage. Even King's like, Escanor! And then freaking like, Hawk's like, no way! And the end's like, you got bitten by just one punch! Well, I'm pretty sure Merlin did her best, but I don't know. But she did wave off her hand because it's really painful right now. But of course, everyone's like, Escanor, snap out of it. Does that mean Merlin's the strongest? I'm like, oh, please. But this scene really breaks my heart really badly because Bond is like thinking he couldn't do anything, you know? And he couldn't do a thing at all. And he's pretty much the weakest of the sins, which it was pretty damn obvious. He doesn't have a sacred treasure, and he does not have a single power-up. Even though he could steal strength from other people, it's not really helping. But, of course, Elaine comforts him and says, you know, he would never think that way. Not at all, would he, Bond? Of course, I like the fact Elaine is still around. I'm glad she's still alive. I don't know what the hell would have happened if she died in this chapter, in this arc when it comes to fighting Meliscula. But, aside from that, we have to it that Merlin has a meeting with the other seven deadly sins and says, our situation's now dire. You know, Escanor suffered a great amount of damage than the captain. You know, Sunshine is extremely powerful, but he used way too much of it. Like, he probably burnt up all the stored up power he actually stored in Rita in all the years that he stored his power. But not only that, Merlin explains this what makes the captain more dangerous. His emotions are stolen away, and he's regressing to what he was back then. So it looks like to me, after using assault mode right now, which was a big mistake, obviously, he's going back to the most vilest demon he was ever existed. That earned him the title to become the next Demon King. But we also see to it that his strength and cruelty would be much more greater than before. Meliodas wakes up, but freaking Merlin managed to like knock him out with Shock Stinger. Of course, like Elizabeth tells Merlin not to do anything to him, but Merlin, on the other hand, tells Elizabeth, move aside. I'm going to encase Meliodas in this perfect cube. And Elizabeth's like, this is not going to solve anything. And Merlin's like, well, look where the hell we're at right now. We're like the race against time. The power of darkness is mending his wounds. What the hell are you going to do? And Elizabeth's like, please, don't do this. And Merlin's like, no, we need to isolate him immediately. And Elizabeth says, here, lock me together with him then. And they go like, huh? Even Merlin calls her sister, and etc. And of course, Hawk's like, are you out of your mind? Are you trying to do a suicide double with him? And she goes like, don't worry. Even if I may not stop him if he fully reverts, but I want to stop him from progressing any further. Although Merlin, in great reluctance, which I would have done the same with the great reluctance, and decided to encase Elizabeth in the perfect cube. Although Merlin decides to stay behind to make sure should the worst really happen. But right now, of course, like they are talking about like Escanor and the captain are out of commission, along with Merlin and Elizabeth staying away from the front lines. What are we gonna do now? But Merlin says like what we can do right now is head towards Camelot and free all those who are under the commandment of Zeldris himself and the people of Leonis. We only have 3 days right now, which is really, really scary because we all know Elizabeth will die in 3 days no matter what. And now that she's inside the perfect cube with Meliodas, who's gonna regress back, who's obviously regressing back to who he was back then, she could die by that time, and Meliodas might find out that he's the one that killed her and ends up like, whatchamacallit, snapping out of madness because he killed her. I mean, anyways, they're going to take, of course, it's going to take 2 days to reach Camelot, and of course, Escanor's going to take time to recover, obviously. But Merlin will find a way to get the captain back to normal, but it's not going to be simple because Zeldris' followers is going to attack us. So she is counting on King Diane and Gother, and not including Bon because, damn, stupid. Although King and Diane did say that they are concerned about Elizabeth, Escanor, and the captain, however, Gother does explain to them the captain only took 78% damage. As for Escanor, he took about 98%. So the gap between them is at 20% great. The gap between Escanor taking damage and the captain is 20% greater. Not to mention, to think that I thought Escanor might have one-shot Meliodas and knock him out, and he will revert back to normal. But I guess the assault mode or whatever he's in is not gonna be that simple. Although Gotha's really more concerned about the captain because the likelihood him returning to who he was before going to his cruel, vile demon in existence is 0. In other words, if you're confused about that, for him to go back to the kind man, normal, funny, perverted guy he used to be on Elizabeth, etc., he's going back to his demonic, treacherous self, in those kinds of words. Sorry for making it complicated. Forgive me for that. Of course, King tells Gother to knock it off, but Gother believes that there is a chance that the captain can return to normal, and he believes in that. And I pretty much want to believe that too. And no matter what, we're going to protect everyone in the end. Of course, King ends up looking at the helmet where Hellbrand gave his life to protect the enemy. He promises he'll protect them all, like he said. And we see to it that the little Familia, who was part of Merlin's little thingamabobby, which I really love for some reason because he or she looks pretty cute. He's getting sick of tired of eating all those flies, and the giant patrolling the centipede, etc. And of course, the little vampire thing almost gotten killed. I call it vampire because he did say he was born under the mother of chaos and of vampire royalty. And of course, he is saved by Arthur, and he ends up screaming, "Please, Merlin, help me!" I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. But Arthur shows up to save him and asks him, "Can you tell me more about Merlin?" And ends off there. So yeah, it's just the aftermath of what happened of between the battle with Melascula and of course Escanor versus Meliodas. But apparently the aftermath is really, really ugly because Meliodas and Escanor are out of condition. Well, Escanor is literally out of condition. He took really bad damage 98% of the time. And as for Meliodas, he's regressing back to who he was back then. So who knows what the hell is going to happen. But one thing for sure, no one's going to freaking live off to see the tale. Well, who knows? That's me rambling on. And the ending was pretty cool. Saving the little vampire thing. I can't believe he's being he's actually hanging on to me right now. Pretty cute. So until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. So I'm Alpha Zero, people. Have a good day. And I'll see you guys next time, right? Peace out. Bye-bye. Choo-choo-choo!